Greetings and welcome to Analyzing Educational Research Week 3. We will continue this week with Chapter 2, Science, Schooling, and Educational Research. Week 3 Assignments. Watch Week 3 video. Review the Library Research Guide Materials Part 1 and 2. Complete the Library Research Guide assignment by creating an interlibrary loan account and uploading a copy of the registration notification form to Blackboard. It may take 1 to 2 hours or 1 to 2 days to receive this notification. Complete the Chapter 2 review problems. Read Chapter 4 for next week's lesson. Remember to complete the CITI course. It has been brought to my attention that the individual modules are listed as SBE and not SBR. The modules listed as SBE are fine. Just make sure you complete the 10 modules listed in your syllabus. I have also listed the guide on how to complete your research resource assignment that is due on October the 11th. I felt this would be a good time to peruse these directions while you learn how to navigate the library resources. I will list the assignment and post the same video in the Week 4 Assignments folder. Finally, I am still the main instructor for the course, but I have added Jerry Frick as an instructor to the course so she can monitor and assist with the course if necessary. As a reminder, direct all of your questions and concerns to me. Remember, please feel free to contact me via email if you have questions or need additional support. Library Research Guide Part 1. I have included this as a graded assignment because it is imperative that you have access to books, databases, journals, and other materials throughout this course, and that you can utilize the Interlibrary Loan Internet Accessible Database. This will prevent you from having to physically go to the library in order to obtain your primary or secondary sources. This is an excellent resource, and I expect everyone in the course to utilize it. Follow the directions included in your folder to register with the Interlibrary Loan System. Upload a copy of the new user registration notification to confirm your registration. You will earn 5 points for completing this assignment by September the 27th. Library Research Guide Part 2. I have included the Research Guide Part 2 as a supplemental guide to complement the educational basics section in your textbook on pages 24 through 33. I highly recommend you peruse the following tutorials: Research Basics and Understanding Sources. Check the Week 3 assignment folder for more information regarding this assignment. Chapter 2, Snapshot. In this chapter, we will discuss 3 stages of selecting a research question. Educational research basics, which include resources and materials you can utilize when conducting research in the library. the role of educational theory, in which we connect theory with data, educational research goals, the anatomy of a research paper, and information on how to complete the research source assignment. Research questions. An educational research question, as described in your text, is a question about the educational world that you seek to answer through the collection and analysis of first-hand, verifiable empirical data. The process of formulating a research question can be broken down into 3 stages. Number 1, identifying educational research questions, which may be motivated by your own personal troubles or experiences. Questions may be obtained by reading research literature or extracted from research articles that highlight unresolved issues and end with suggestions for additional research. Stage 2, refining educational research questions, which involve developing your research question a little at a time, developing a possible list of research questions, narrowing your list to the most interesting and most manageable candidate, and finally, stage 3, evaluating our educational research questions based on feasibility, educational importance, and scientific relevance. In evaluating educational research questions, you have 3 very important features. Feasibility. We must be able to conduct a research study within the time and given resources we have. If the time is short, a study that involves long-term changes are not feasible. Other questions include, can we gain access? Do we need additional funds? And we must also consider the constraints we face due to our schedules and commitments, as well as our skill level. Educational importance is relative. Is this topic important to other people? Will an answer to a research question make a difference for society or for educational relations? Scientific relevance. Every research question should be grounded in the educational research literature. First, turn to the educational literature to find out what already has been learned about this question. Make sure prior research is relevant about this question. Exploring the educational research literature will tell you a few things. What others have found regarding that question, inform you as to who has begun to ask good questions, how they have attempted to answer those questions, what areas have they and haven't they explored. You will always need to connect new research questions to prior research investigations. So before you decide on a research question or statement, read the literature you are most interested in. Try constructing a reasonable question or statement based on the processes used in formulating a research question. The role of educational theory. Once we have a research question, have reviewed the literature, we are ready to conduct our research. Because the focus in this course is primarily to develop a comprehensive review of current research on a specific topic in a corresponding action research question, I will not dive deep into the various components of conducting research, as this will be covered in more detail in your research class. However, I will briefly discuss a few terms and roles related
to conducting educational research. Conducting educational research involves connecting theory with data. Theory is logically interrelated sets of propositions that help us make sense of many interrelated phenomena and predict behavior or attitudes that are likely to occur when certain conditions are met. Building and evaluating theory is one of the most important objectives of educational research. Deductive research. Some researchers may make this connection by starting with an educational theory and then test some of its implications with data. This is deductive research, which is most often the strategy used in quantitative methods. We call the specific expectation deduced from the more general theory a hypothesis. It is the hypothesis that researchers actually test, not the complete theory. Hypothesis is an educated guess or a tentative statement about empirical relationships between two or more variables. We can either have an independent or dependent variable. An independent variable is a variable that is hypothesized to cause or lead to variation in another variable, whereas a dependent variable is a variable that is hypothesized to vary depending on or under the influence of another variable. So let's say we are studying a 4th grade class where most of the students are on a 4th grade reading level. An example of a hypothesis, as indicated on page 35, could state students that receive instruction in specific reading comprehension strategies will improve their reading more than students who do not receive such instruction. So the independent variable would be the reading comprehension strategy, and the dependent variable would be the amount of reading improvement which is measured by students' reading scores. So since the independent variable changes or influences the dependent variable, in this example, the reading comprehension strategies based on our hypothesis should influence or change students' reading scores. We call this change the dependent variable. Inductive research. Alternatively, researchers may develop a connection between educational theory and data by first collecting data and then developing a theory that explains patterns in the data. This is inductive research, which is most often the strategy used in qualitative methods. In essence, a research circle exhibits how specific expectations from the more general theory is formulated into a hypothesis, which is used to formulate a procedure to collect data with which to test the hypothesis. Whereas inductive research begins with specific data, which is then used to develop a general explanation to account for the data. Educational research goals. Educational researchers try to fulfill 3 goals. We have reached the goal of validity when our conclusions about empirical reality is correct. The 3 aspects of validity include measurement validity, discussed further in Chapter 4, is our first concern in measuring validity as it exists when a measure measures what we think it measures. Generalizability, discussed further in Chapter 5, is the extent to which it can be used to inform us about persons, places, or events that were not studied given the conditions we specify. Thus, we do not have the resources or time to study entire populations, so we select a sample of cases so our findings can be generalized to the population of interest. Causal validity, also known as internal validity, refers to the truthfulness of an assertion that A causes B. In essence, the main goal of validity is the continued pursuit of figuring out how and why some aspects of the educational world operates as it does. The second goal educational researchers try to fulfill is authenticity, an alternative research goal for researchers who are skeptical about establishing validity, feel like the attempts to understand the world is inevitably subjective. An authentic understanding of an educational setting is one that reflects fairly the various perspectives of participants in that setting and is often the goal of qualitative research. The final goal researchers try to fulfill is practical significance. Researchers have an obligation to ask questions and produce conclusions that are in some way useful to others, such as teachers, administrators, and policymakers. Two developments which have raised awareness of practical significance as a goal in research include the No Child Left Behind legislation and participatory research methods that are school and classroom based. Anatomy of a research paper. We are not writing a research proposal, therefore I would like to provide the anatomy of a research paper to help with your literature review. Abstract. The abstract contains the objective, summary, and the goal of a research paper and usually summarizes the whole research, including key themes. The introduction usually consists of 3 parts: a general presentation of the research problem, exactly what you are trying to achieve with this particular research project, and finally states the researcher's own position. The literature review or theoretical framework includes relevant readings from previous works that are credible and directly related to the topic of the research paper. The methods section explains the design and methodology used to perform the research. The results and findings for quantitative research is usually tables and graphs of the analyzed data, and for qualitative research is a broader description of trends without going into too much detail. The discussion elaborates findings and explains what the researcher found based on his or her own personal interpretations. The discussion is linked back to the introduction and addresses each initial point. The conclusions are built upon the discussion, reference to the findings, and potential for future research. The references are a list of all the academic materials used as a source of information in the research paper. This is typically formatted in APA style. Your assignment folder includes a folder with sample qualitative and quantitative examples. I have also included the links to the articles in this slide. Your assignment folder also contains a handout identifying the differences between primary and secondary sources. I have included the link to the article in this slide. Finally, your assignment folder includes a folder with 2 examples of secondary research sources. I have included the links to the articles in this slide.